I'm out of the business, but I go to our Atlanta house to meet him. I flew in, his people picked me up. I go to the house, and the house is massive. I go in. I didn't even realize how big Terry had got. I went in and I opened the door, and they're working. They loading these trucks and vans, and I opened the door and I seen so many drugs. I literally was about to pass out. It was like I lost my breath.
This is Inside the Life with Giovanni and Dutch, produced by the Mob Museum. Giovanni, Rocco, and Dutch McAlpin are former police and federal task force operatives. They infiltrated drug cartels, outlaw motorcycle groups, and the mafia. Now, they share their stories, along with others who have gone inside the life.
Today we get to interview Tonesa Welch. Tonesa Welch, also known as Toni, recognized as the First Lady of BMF in her past life. Today she's going to talk about how that life and her journey through that life, the hardships and everything, have shaped her into this woman that is an advocate for abused women, for domestic violence, for people of poverty and homelessness.
Everybody wants to hear the story of the BMF and the BMF Queen. And I think what we captured here with her today was a different side of that. And you think of the Black Mafia Queen, she's going to sit here and tell stories of shootouts and gangsters and how she was this big thugged out female. But that's not what she was. She truly was a support system to these guys.
It's a really unique perspective being a woman from the late 80s and 90s in Detroit, being involved in what started out as probably a local drug conspiracy to sell amounts of heroin, how she didn't necessarily have a necessity or a need to do it, but an attraction to it. And with an entrepreneur's mind and a vision of making something bigger, she ends up basically turning it into the BMF and a large domestic cartel group. Yeah, and she takes us through a journey of money, drugs, parties, and then it's domestic violence, abuse.
Yeah.
Her watching her own children go to prison, herself going to prison.
So yeah, she survived all that, and she's here to tell her story on Inside the Life, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Inside the Life at the Mob Museum, Toni. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
You grew up in Detroit. Detroit has a lot of fame, a lot of history, and there's a lot to it. Start with what your experience as a young woman growing up in Detroit, and take us through some of that.
Okay, I grew up in a middle-class family with my mom and my stepdad, my 3 brothers, so life was okay for me. I think I was sheltered, like a spoiled child. My mother doted on me. We went shopping every Friday. I was the leader of the family. Everybody did what Toni did. I had a nickname when I was younger. They called me the GOAT. The GOAT was my name. And now when I'm older, I really realize what that meant, but I didn't understand why they called me GOAT when I was younger. And it was just like a shelter life. Everybody, one family. I didn't think about if we had trauma, drama, anything like that. To me, it was just a normal young girl growing up in this middle-class home with my family. They're working. We didn't have any, there's never the lights off, never went without any food. Just a normal family,
And they worked in the car industry, right? The auto industry was booming
my
back then?
dad was a supervisor, and my mom worked in the office. Yeah.
And they instilled that work ethic in you, I guess, at a young age?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did. My father always talked about work.
Right.
My mom thought I was going to go to college, but, had a different direction.
Well, how did that come? How'd that come to be? At what point did you, when you were younger, was it the people that you were gravitated towards and hung out with?
I don't know what it was. I think, when I look back on it and writing my book and, going over all my journals and things, it was just like I really lived like a normal young kid, hung out with my little girlfriends, my best friends. I grew up on the street, and none of them are in the life. I didn't know anything about the life. My mom didn't curse. My mom didn't drink, just normal. My father was a Hellcat, but other than that, I don't know where it came from. Okay. I think being so sheltered, and I probably always wanted to break loose, but I knew as a young girl, I always thought different than everybody else. I thought something was not normal about me. I always felt that way.
Right. So you had that leadership role at a young age.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
More of a business brain.
Yeah,
that kind
I just chose the wrong business. Yeah.
Right. What was your first exposure to that? Kind of like
It was my first exposure was when I met my ex-husband H. Well, his name is Harold, but his street name was H. And I was only 19 years old. I had been with my high school boyfriend since I was like 14 years old. He's my oldest son's father. I didn't know about drugs. I hadn't even seen it. The only thing I seen about it was on television, you know?
Yeah.
I was always, you know, by being the only girl, I always was, you know, had things. So it was not, I did it out of poverty or anything, because my mother made sure that I was dressed nice, hair, you know, like what a young girl would have growing up.
It wasn't out of necessity necessarily.
It wasn't out
at
of
all.
necessity,
Well,
no.
Was Harold like, did he have this cool charisma?
Let me
like
tell
that swag,
you,
know?
I went to this party. I had came back from Oklahoma. My oldest son, dad, lived in, he went to college in Oklahoma. That was the most boringest life I had ever been in. So I came back home, and it was like, I'm never going back. So my oldest brother's girlfriend, when I came home, she was like, I'm gonna take you out. I'm 19. I'm like, okay. So she's there helping me get fixed up for this party. She's telling me I'm going on the east side. Now, I never really went on the east side. When I was younger, my biological dad lived on the east side, but I stopped seeing him when I was a real little girl. But I knew it was the east side, but I never really went on the east side. Yeah. So she took me to this party at this fabulous place. We drove up, and I'm looking at this place. It was so many cars out there that when I tell you, it was like out of a movie when I think about it. So I'm feeling like, you know, I'm nervous about the whole thing, but also excited, because she's with it. She's like one of the hot girls. She dresses really well. You know, I'm thinking like she's probably the one I looked at thinking about when I was dressing, you know, I want to dress like that. So we go into this party, we go up the stairs. It's this wonderful place in Detroit, Michigan on the east side. It's called the Rooster Tail. So some of the drug dealers gave this party there. And like I said, when we pulled up, they had, you know, in Detroit, it was the Cadillacs, it was the Continentals, all those cars was out there.
Big wheels and everything.
Everything, the spoke rims, shiny, everything looked so amazing to me. So we go up, and you have to go up these stairs. It was red carpet. This building is really nice. And so when you walk into these glass doors, literally these glass doors, that as you entering the glass doors, they open, and it was this party to me. What I seen, my eyes seen, these amazing people. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. You make it sound like you're walking into a royalty, like a royal party.
In my 19-year-old head, I'm like, whoa. And I'm just sitting there around there looking at all this. And the women looked so fabulous to me. That was the big thing. They were looking good.
And you're feeling good.
And
right?
I'm still kind of nervous. I'm like, to me, probably not dressed. I thought I was looking good before I got there. But when I seen them and draping jewelry and all that, because even then they had the jewelry. You know, Detroit was known for their flyness. You know, they still, the Rolexes back then, because, you know, all of that. They had the John Knight coats on, the hats, and they had champagne. Cristal. Was it Cristal or something like that? I know I started drinking Cristal early on.
Don't taste that good though, does it?
I didn't care. I had that glass in my hand, and I was just standing there, and my brother's girlfriend, they kind of left me, and I was just standing there, and he approached me.
Right.
And it was from there on, and I'm looking at him like, and it was just like, and he was dressed like them, but he was younger than his crowd that he was working for, that he was under. And so I looked at him, and he was like dressed so nice. Like, I'm like, oh my God, something different from my high school boyfriend. Here I got this high school boyfriend, can't afford much. We both looking like, not to say that. I mean, but I thought I was really in love with him. And then until I went into this party, it was like, I tell people, it's like, I went into this revolving door, not to just walk in the glass. It was like, you know, when you go in the revolving door, you walk in and you come out. I walked in and came out a different person. I wanted to be like those people.
Got it.
You know,
it feels powerful. It's impacting, isn't it?
I was
infectious.
very impressive. Like, I'm like, oh my God. And I understand now how young kids can get, you know, caught up in the life, or when they hear the rap and they want the jury and they want to see all that, because I did it as a young girl.
As a
But
middle
that's your
class,
introduction to it, right?
Yeah, that was the
Eventually
introduction.
you start to see the other side of it,
Yeah,
right?
because Immediately. So Harold brought me a glass of champagne and we talked all night. And then after that, by him being a little older and him being from this, from that life, he pursued me right away. It was, he came, I think, couple of days later. I'm like, oh, you can't be here. Well, back then you didn't have the cell phones. You had the telephones.
Right.
And he would call. He was he was just like, oh, no.
Right.
You're gonna pursuing me
Yeah.
hard, something that I wasn't used to.
Throwing stuff at you, flashy stuff. Bringing you
my
out.
mother said she knew when he bought me that John Knight coat, it was over with. This fabulous coat back then, it was a nice coat. It wasn't a fur coat, but everybty had a John Knight coat. And it was, if you were,
Right.
in the light.
From the street.
From the street.
Yep.
And when he gave me that coat, I was like, oh my God, immediately giving me the little jewelry, and stuff like that, riding in his car, just hanging out. And I became part of his life.
Right.
Did he treat you good?
In the beginning, he did.
Right.
In the beginning, he did.
And then he got comfortable.
Then he got comfortable.
And then he really saw
what
the
they
game
call
come
it
out.
now, the baiting. It was all the things.
Yeah, it is a bait and switch.
Yeah.
So he was in the game. He was pretty deep into it. He's running with the crew of guys, you said.
Yeah.
And then you got comfortable with him, and then you just got into
I just wanted to be a
full
part
blown.
of that world.
Right.
Everything that he did, like I wanted to be a part of. And like I said, I always had this strong personality and this leadership thing. And I was fearless too.
Yeah.
Growing up with brothers, I was really fearless. And I didn't understand what I understand now as, what could happen. I didn't think about, what could happen to
Well,
you.
our careers in law enforcement as undercovers, you're in the game so deep, it becomes an addiction to adrenaline.
Yeah, it was.
We've described it in past episodes and just talking to each other. The adrenaline of it, the excitement of it is sometimes an addiction. You don't have to have an addiction to a substance. That
you
is,
would be addicted to the life, the power of the life, the way you move rooms, the just having accessibility to everything, the money. I was, like I said, I was a shelter child, spoiled. I got things what I wanted. I shopped at, the finer department stores. But being with him and seeing the money and all of that, I started getting addicted really fast.
Right.
I wanted it just as fast as he did.
well, I'd imagine everybody in the neighborhood starts to see you transform too.
They did.
Right? Now, even going out by yourself or going out with your girls, you're dressing different. They see you as a
Dressing
different.
They treat you different too, right? They
People start
recognize you,
treating
little scared of you.
Yeah,
Sure.
they start recognizing.
And that is infectious too.
Yeah.
That feeds the beast.
It does. It feeds you,
It
feeds
does
you.
in a negative way, but you don't realize it when
You
you're
don't.
in it. Right?
Harold, well, I'm gonna say H. Sometimes I go back and forth. But that's my ex-husband who I start off with. Me and him had so many close calls, but it was like, I don't know. I started feeling almost kind of like invisible, like I was powerful, like I had the greatest, like can manipulate ourselves out of anything, I don't know. Like you said, the adrenaline, I really felt like, oh, I'm running this now. We're doing this now.
Right.
Because H became bigger than those
I was gonna
guys
say,
that I seen in that party. He became that person that everybody started looking at.
He was a street dealer.
He was a street dealer.
And then he started doing weight.
He
moved up
started
in
doing weight. He started when I first met him. He's from the East Side.
Yeah.
And so we're doing heroin.
How did he introduce to you first? Did he first just have you like holding dope and taking over here and dropping off, or he right away just...
He was just doing it in front of me. And he's counting money in front of me,
Yeah.
And like I said, I wasn't used to that, and it excited me. Like I said, you've seen it on TV. Remember Superfly? Superfly was out back then, and I always think about that song, Superfly. I was like, okay, and it was the heroin days.
I remember seeing like the digital scales and the little bags and a gun laying out.
And
There's
that's
a
what he
Rolex
showed
watch in
me.
there.
He showed
digital
me.
scales. I think back then we had the triple beams.
Yeah.
The triple beam
He
scales.
had the triple beam,
Yeah, the little ones.
The little, and he would wake up early in the morning and he would have to get the heroin ready, show
Cut
me
it up
how
and
to
everything.
cut it up, and we wore our masks. It really excited me. It was like a partnership. He like loved it. He started trusting me, like we were, like I always sat on, because I don't know anybody, a man and a woman, so I just say Bonnie and Clyde, but even though they robbed banks, but we had this thing, we worked well together, And even though he had other people working for him, when we did major drug deals, I was the one who was always with him. you know?
Well, it's a level of trust,
so
right?
he kind of kept you side by side with him.
Side by side, yeah.
Then do you look back and you see it as protection, right?
I did
kinda
see
like
it
he
as
was grooming,
protection, yeah.
You know,
I don't even know if he was grooming, because I really think that if he was grooming, I don't think he understood he was grooming me.
right? No.
You asked.
Yeah,
You know?
I wanted that part of, that life.
Yeah.
It excited me. I think that growing up, like I said, I always felt different. I always looked at people different. I always like, oh, this is boring, Even through school, my mom thought I was gonna go to college. I'm like, this lady just don't know. I can't wait to graduate. I didn't set goals. All of your friends, and they were thinking about what they're gonna do out of high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want to go to college.
So this just fit right into your plan. This was like
even though I didn't know it, it fit right
Yeah.
into my plan.
I think it's important to kind of point out here too that, like, in the dope world, it's not common for a woman to be in a powerful place.
Right,
Not
it's
very
not.
many. And if you're talking about H ultimately became one of these bigger drug dealers, and he kept you by his side, did your role become more and more important? Did you find yourself taking on bigger responsibilities, maybe cash and dope and doing your own deals?
I didn't do that until he went to prison in 92.
Okay.
And then it was like, I hope he don't think I'm about to wait on him to spoon feed me money. I know this game just as well as he does now. And so I was meeting my own people. Me and him were going in and out of our relationship a lot. So I was meeting my own people anyway, so I can't say if it was grooming. I think people think of it as grooming because, like you said, they don't think women can do it. And that's why a lot of us get away with it, or they think like, oh, she's only in prison because her man got her in prison.
Right.
I think anybody, if it wasn't even like that, I just still wanted to do that. I learned it quickly and I wanted to do it. To me, it came easy.
Sure.
I could have walked away a lot of times, but like you said, I got addicted to it myself.
Yeah.
Like we were in and out of relationship. The bigger he got, the more women, the
Then you
more,
got the stresses on your relationship.
yeah,
too,
the
right?
relationship, because he got more powerful, and then you know how that goes.
Yeah,
So we were
yeah.
in and out anyway. So he didn't stop me from doing anything, because when we did, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do my own
Sure.
thing.
So you
know?
take the reins. Now I got to take over because he's in prison. He's doing
in
his
prison,
bid.
and he still left money.
Yeah.
But it was just like, that ain't enough money for me. I'm used to money now.
But now you're switching. You're going from being in there with H in these deals and these drop offs, and now you're going in by yourself.
Right.
I would imagine, because again, being in the game, it's hard enough walking into a room full of guys. Now
Right.
you're a woman, but before you were a woman with H.
him, with H.
Now you're
And one
Toni
thing
by
about
yourself.
him, he would, even though I was in an abusive relationship with him, he protected me. He didn't let anybody say anything crazy to me. He didn't let anybody do anything to me. He was that type of person. And so people already understood that. Well, that's H girl,
But there had to come a point where did they test you? Like when he's inside and he's doing his time and you're out there now?
I had for some reason, I don't know, I had really major respect. People really respected me.
Right.
I wasn't a person that disrespected people or anything like that. I had the guys that I knew that were in the street, they had a real respect for me.
You think they all kind of protected you a little bit?
I think
with the respect as well, but also like
you still have
the
your
word on the street was not to mess with her.
You know,
Yeah.
I was always never alone either, though. Because once he went to prison, we had Meech and T. They started working for us back in like 88, 89, 88.
Okay.
And when he left, and I told him, like, I'm about to do my own thing, He said, okay, we'll work with certain. He told me who to work with then.
Yeah.
And he asked Terry, not knowing Southwest T, that we were going to start dating. He asked him, keep an eye on her, because she going to do what she want to do.
Right.
And that's how
He was
that
looking out for
happened.
you, yeah.
So T would always kind of be around me also, him and his little guys, the same little guys that H had under, around. They would always watch my back when it came to certain things.
And you went back mentally and pulled from your childhood what you described as being a goat, right?
Yes.
And you pulled from that leadership, and you
That
just made them,
leadership,
okay, listen,
yeah.
you're looking out for me, but I'm calling the shots.
I'm calling
just
the
like
shots.
you did at home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the same thing. Yeah.
Right.
And so that's how the thing came with T and Meech. They were working under H.
I think we missed a little bit in here. So Because you started out, you don't know anything about dealing dope. He teaches you about dealing dope, and somewhere in there, you've transitioned. Like, you're known as the First Lady of the BMF, and I know we're not there yet, but did you start doing like big deals? Were you like calling up like cartel guys and being like, I need six keys or?
Yeah, afterwards, after heroin, I end up meeting a connection. I end up meeting a guy. And
With Harold and through Harold?
Okay, let me back up. When me and Harold, he always had, he began with his connections, the Mexican cartel and all of that. But when he left me a few people that I could still deal with because I was like, and he was like, well, I don't want you to get out there and just be meeting anybody.
Right.
So he named a few people that I could trust. But after that, I end up meeting someone on my own. And that's when the thing with me and Terry, because Terry and Southwest T at that time in like 92, from 92 on down, him and Meech still couldn't get that leadership role. They couldn't get the
connect.
They couldn't get the connect.
They couldn't call the guy.
They couldn't
still had to go through you.
They still had to go through me or somebody else on the street, still, low leveling it, and then I'm looking at them like, okay, because Terry was really like my friend, my confidant, somebody I was always talking to. Even when he was messing up, like when I was getting, the prosecutor were prosecuting me. She said, you know how that Scarface movie went? Judge, this is how this went. She went from this guy, to Scarface. Yeah. So remember how Scarface was always looking at Esmeralda and said, one day you're going to be mine. Yeah. That's how Terry would always say that to me. I'm like, stop playing. You're too young, and I'm still looking at him as a kid.
Yeah.
But that's how it happened when H went to prison. I'm like, I'm still going to be, what else I'm going to do? He tried to have me working this job, H did, to to make us look like legitimate as possible.
I don't want you to get into trouble.
Yeah, but it was still like, okay, I'm gonna do this, but I'm a weekend, they were calling me the weekend girl. I'm like, y'all know it's about to pop, it's the weekend. And it was funny because I end up, I was just out there, I was dating. I end up dating a cop, but I'm like, let me go downstairs and get some loads. I'm gonna be washing, but I'm really, getting stuff ready. Right. By that time, it wasn't cutting dope. I had my keys. I had my keys ready to get ready to move, so it was just always that, like you said, it was the greed. It was the life for me. It was the money. And I was always so private, very private. H taught me that too. And I don't know how he got caught up because
he was pretty private too.
Oh my God. He only trusted me. All these people was around. And he was very quiet.
But that's the street.
Yeah, very quiet. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you're doing keys. You're all the way up to this level. Like, I mean, you're running a drug conspiracy, like a big one, right? Like, so you're not weighing dope out anymore. You're just a key to this, a key to this, and a key to this. Did you ever experience violence? Did you ever get robbed? Did anybody ever pull a gun on you or anything like that?
Nothing like that. But somebody did break into my home. They did do that, but never personally robbing me. I didn't, like I said, I didn't go out alone. I've always had, even if it was a bunch of my girls or, I always had guys that I always friend zoned. And I don't know what that was about. I guess growing up with brothers, I always had people around me and those people were going to protect me.
Yeah. Layers of security.
Yeah.
You had the mind for it.
I think it was kind of part of your personality. I think I remember there's people that you recognize and respect for violence and fear. And there's other ones that people just love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like everybody in the streets like, don't betray her because she's a sweetheart. We like her.
Right. And that's what it was. So, when I left and then you had the ones that were trying to date you and cause I'm popping now.
You're using your house as a stash house, right? At that point, you're not big enough where you have stash houses like, all over the place. What are you sitting on? When you're sitting on a load, how many keys are you looking at 92 in the house?
Probably myself or with H?
Just yourself.
Probably like 6 to 10 back then,
So somebody at that time, 6 to 10 keys was a lot.
It was a lot,
and there was a lot of home invasions, a lot of that.
Yeah.
The cartels were just, once they knew you had the dope, they would do the home invasions on you.
Was your guy a Mexican guy, like a cartel
guy?
No,
he wasn't. But he was dealing out of LA, so.
Oh, okay.
So he had the Mexican cartel, yeah.
Okay.
Would you go to LA and pick it up or they bring it to you?
Oh, no, I wasn't doing that.
You didn't have to do that at all?
No.
Okay. You're definitely starting to lead into where you become known as the First Lady of the BMF. And we got to take a quick little break.
Okay.
We'll pick up right with the BMF and how that's developed and what you become. Welcome back from the break. We're about to go into the rise of the BMF. But before that, the pivotal moment where H is arrested. Can you tell us about that?
We fly to Texas, and we had this whole plan out. We're going to meet the connects, the one that we knew. We're going to meet him in the hotel. And when we get there, he's with some strange guys. And then on the other side is other strange people pretending, you know how you guys do. And
Yes, we
not
do.
you guys, but you know how it goes, right? Back then we wasn't calling it energy, but then it was energy. It was flowing through my body. And he's just talking and I'm stuck. Literally stuck. We were by the table and he's just said, I'm kicking him under the table. I'm hitting him. And he just looking at me like, and I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I'm just tight, like. And he was like, what's wrong with you? And then when we leave, they got this whole plan out. They gonna make the delivery. They doing all of this, right? So when we leave, I said, that was the police. That was the DEA. That, I'm telling him. What made he wouldn't do us like, okay. I said, I'm not flying home with you. That's what I'm not doing. And I didn't, but I did get stopped at the airport. And I'm telling
You flew
him,
by yourself.
I
And
flew
you
by
got pulled over
myself.
first night.
Yeah. And I'm telling him, so when he arrives home, I'm telling him, don't pick that up. Do not call them. Do not call them.
Yep.
And he was like, I'm like, F them people. Do not call them. And so we're sitting on the sofa and he waits, he's piddling around. I call it piddling around. My mother used to say that word. So then he's just messing around. And then he leaves. He was leaving out. I said, please don't call them. I guess he think as he go to a payphone, it makes a difference.
Right.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah, he goes to a payphone. He comes back and I said, you called them. I had to call them. I can't make them. I said, okay. That next morning they were kicking in our doors.
Agreed, got him.
You described that, and it kind of makes me think back. I remember sitting in a room like, it's going to be a pretty good big-sized dope deal. I've done it many, many times before. I'm not even nervous. They're like, yeah, you'll be in and out in 5 minutes. I remember walking through the door, and as soon as I did, I went,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, man, something's just different.
There's
people here I don't know.
I don't know.
The demeanor of the person I'm supposed to be dealing with that I've known for so long is now sitting still.
Yeah.
He doesn't look right. He's looking around the room. And that could either be you're going to get robbed or you're going to get busted.
We're going to get
right?
busted. And I felt it immediately. And I can't remember. I guess they talked about the load when they was dropping it all. He go make the call and that's how he gets busted.
Everything they wanted to hear, right?
Everything they
So
wanted to
you
hear.
kept your mouth shut, so
I
you
didn't-
didn't get wrapped up in that particular.
No, and he protected
indictment.
me also too. That he was that type of man. He was like, whatever happens, this is gonna be all on me.
Police come all in, ram the door,
Oh my God, it
handcuffs,
was
zip tied everybody.
Yeah,
Money, drugs, everything.
They tore that house up. Yeah, everything,
Right.
and so he ended up taking a deal for 7 years, and I don't know what that was about back then, but he took the deal, talked us into like, oh, the lawyer, y'all need to get married. It looks better for the judge.
He took a plea deal.
Yeah,
And you got married? Well,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
How'd that play out?
Didn't play out too well.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he served his time, he got out, right? Now he's out.
Yeah. And while he was there, I made sure he was good.
Yeah.
I took good care. I made sure, I visited him. And around 95, even though that's when he had T watching my back, around 95, after all that T talking about, he's going to get me, he's going to do this, eventually it fell through. Because I end up helping Terry. Because it was like, okay, you're my friend.
Yeah.
Why you can't, what is going on? I got money. I'm doing this, but you don't, and you supposed to be this guy, let me help you. Let me help you get some money.
And you're talking about Harold and H, who we haven't got to talk about how abusive he was and how you were forced to defend yourself, yet you felt protected by him. and you took care of him in prison. And I think
it was,
we've seen this in our life.
Yeah.
Like they do feel some sense of protection from the person that's abusing them.
That abusing, right. It's
and
a strange.
It locks you in, you know,
Yeah,
and I
very
didn't want to miss
strange.
that.
No, and I think you began to stand up to him, right? So
Yeah, I
was
did.
it abusive early on in a relationship, or was something that came later?
It was early on not in the beginning.
Yeah.
That was the grooming stage. You know, I got you. It was like as soon as we moved in and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then it started. And then the more he's got, you know, start making more and more money, then the women, then you
Right.
gotta, you know, now you're getting on my nerves and, you know, the stress that a man gets in the street and who they take it out on, you
Right.
know, and
Right.
all the real things that was going on emotionally with him started coming out, and I was getting that.
You get a brunt of
I
it.
caught it, yeah.
But it's important because you start to stand up for yourself.
Right.
And when you do that, is it more you're standing up later when you become more powerful yourself? Is that when you start standing up, or at what point? Because women listening,
I was still under him. I was
Yeah.
still under him, but it was just like, you know, what the
Enough's
hell?
enough.
Enough is enough.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait on you
and
tonight.
you took a hard stance, right?
Yeah, it was.
You know?
It was. Oh, I had planned it out,
right.
and still not thinking if this dude dies, you're going to prison
You're
for
right.
life, and your kids.
It's not a good solution.
It's not a good solution. You could, you know, when you look back at it, why didn't you just leave? But no, I sat there and I planned it out. I knew he was gonna come in at a certain time. I had planned it out. I got my weapon ready, my knife ready. It was a big one too. I'm like, he's gonna die. Like literally, I said it in my head. Oh, he's
You
gonna
reached
die
your breaking
tonight.
point.
Yeah, he's gonna die tonight. And as soon as he came in the room, I just lunged at him. I went right for here, but it hit here. And luckily for me, that was God
Yeah.
aiming
Yeah,
because
in
I
prison the rest of your life.
automatically knew that where to hit him, I was gonna go for the neck, the jugular right here, and it didn't. It missed him like that. And then I was arrested. And back then, he would have had to press charges. You know, now in domestic violence,
They'd pick it up
They
anyway.
could. The state can pick it up.
Yeah.
So he didn't
So
press
you
charges.
got out of that.
I got
because
out of
back
it.
then there was that allotment where he didn't
Right.
press charges.
But guess what? It went right back. But
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
you know, stopped.
Yeah.
You know,
He got the message.
That's what you have to do. You know, if you're not gonna leave, you
Did it
have
change
to.
then after you stabbed him?
Yeah,
Did he
it
stop
changed
putting his
because
hands
he
on
would.
you or
Yeah, I mean, we were still getting, you know, the normal,
Yeah.
and he would try, and then it would get like because he never knew at that time what I had. He already knew like this Lord is crazy. He'd start saying, "Oh, she's crazy." No, I'm not crazy. I just started defending myself.
Right.
You know.
Enough is enough.
Yeah, it was enough.
So he stayed in line, and then
Yeah.
that gave you a little bit more confidence.
It
in the
gave me a
street.
little more confidence. I was a little more comfortable.
Fed the beast,
Yeah.
right?
This happened in '90. He stayed on the streets for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I had already, in my head, I'm like, I can't wait for you to go in my head. But I still was with him. Because I was still, you know. And we were still dealing. He went right back to dealing on paper. Oh, yeah, you hear it
While
all
he's
the
out,
time.
while he's out waiting to be prosecuted.
But now the princess became a queen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's a
Did
defining
people know
moment.
he was getting ready to go to jail? Were they already starting to shift to you?
No, I think, you know, close people, but, you know, people hear things on the street.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
they
yeah.
probably didn't, you know, it didn't shift until after he left, you know, because it was like, and I already had, like, he think I'm finna sit down. No, I already thought in my head that he's going in prison. I'm gonna make sure he's okay, but I'm not gonna be with him when he comes home. There was already the plan in my life. I started setting my own life up. I moved out of the house we had together. I bought my own home. You know, I started doing my own thing, started shifting my life.
Yeah.
I started, you know, I had never dated. I went from the high school boyfriend to the husband. I started dating more. I started feeling myself. I started, like you said, a queen. I started feeling powerful. Men they was like, oh, she available now, you know?
Yeah.
So it was droves of guys always
I bet.
trying to, me and my friend, we were the girls. We were sitting there buying the bottles now and, you know, and hanging out. We were known for the fly girls,
And
you
tough
know?
approach.
And that's-
Yeah. So that's what it is.
And that's a sexy thing in the street.
It was a very
Look,
sexy
for men
for me.
in
Yeah.
the game. I mean, that makes you even more attractive.
Yes.
You know, and people just want to associate with
They
you.
just want to be connected
So now
to you.
that builds your empire.
Yes.
Because now just these people wanting to be part of you, wanting to be known and associated with you.
Associated. They want to be
start to grow an
connected to
empire.
you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when do you start to branch this empire out? When does it start to, your tentacles
I
really
wouldn't
start
call
to
mine an empire because I didn't really want people to know. I really let people assume what they wanted to assume.
Yeah.
People were calling me like thought I was out there being like a slut or because all these guys would be around me all the time, but not knowing that I'm over here being a plug. I didn't even let my closest friends know, you know? And so they always thought Terry was the one, him and Meech. Meech was just roaming, you know, hopping from city to city, not really having a real connect. And they thinking that Terry's the one. No, I'm buying these bottles. I'm doing this. And he would have little connections, but nothing sustainable. And I'm like, well, what's going on with you?
Right.
You know, because I'm 9 years older than T. Like, you remember when they got under Hero, they were young guys.
Kids,
they were
teenagers,
kids.
huh?
They were teenagers. You know, back
Just
then.
doing street level stuff.
Yeah, doing street level stuff. They were known as the 50 boys.
Right.
And we had been past the 50s, you know, the 50 rocks and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I don't
yeah.
even remember that era. Like,
Yeah.
did we ever do that era?
Yeah.
I don't remember it, you
Right,
know?
right.
Yeah.
It just went from bam, bam,
Yep.
you know? And so when we were together, and this is my friend, this is my confidant. Even when I was with Hero, he was the person that I would talk to because he was always under Hero. Like he was. That's why I set up that scene. And when I think about what the prosecutor said, it was that version. It was just the black version of it. He was always there, always in my ear, always listened to my complaints. You know, so he had a different motive. He was like, I'm going to get this girl. And he would even see me dating other people, but he would always be like that person that I would talk to. And then I helped him one day. I'm like, I'm going to help you. Because he always said one day, like Scarface, one day I'm going to take you away from this.
Yeah.
And so then eventually I gave him, you know, some work. And he just took off from there. Because I was like, I mean, I'm not even going to press you for my money. And I don't know what made me say this. I want my money back in 30 days.
Yeah.
You know, like, you ain't got to rush. You ain't got to flip it back right away. Because I thought, like,
You thought
to
it might
me,
take him a while.
Yeah, I thought it might take him a while.
So
and
that 30
That's
days was more of a mentorship.
Yeah.
You start mentoring these guys, trying to realize, okay.
I think I was to T. And, you know, and I think that's what happened once he got to his level.
Yeah.
It became like a hate, almost like now I'm in power, you know, and then you don't really know, like, damn, were we in competition here or something? I didn't know that. I think this is my friend. I'm
Were
gonna
you
look out
okay
for
with
him.
that, though? Were you okay with him taking that role?
Yeah, because once he did take it, it was a relief, you
Yeah, I
know,
would
because
think
I didn't
so.
get busted. I stayed on the streets, and it was a relief because you do get tired. You really do get tired because
The anxiousness and the running
the
and the waiting and
anxiousness, the
answering.
man,
Waiting for
you
the shoe to
know,
drop.
yeah.
Constant.
You were dope boy rich. You're dope being rich.
Dope
And
boy.
a lot of people don't understand. They think if you're a drug dealer and you got millions of dollars in cash that you can buy land and houses and real estate, you really can't do anything with
You
it, right?
can't do anything with it.
And I know you did, but at some point you legitimize some of that money. You start to buy businesses.
We ended up buying the first car company. It was they called it in BMF Stars. Ours was called Courtesy Sedan Service. They said it was sedan service that him and his dad owned it. It was the car company me and my dad owned, and he started using the company.
Like drivers.
Yeah.
Like a livery
Chauffeur
car.
The
cars and
chauffeur
stuff?
cars. Remember before black cars came out?
Yes.
That was what me and my dad did. We could go to the airports, we can go to the hotels, but after like 9/11,
Yeah.
they stopped small businesses and they had brought big contractors in.
Yeah.
That's what took our black
Killed
car.
that business off.
They just didn't have the time, you know, they didn't want to put the energy in businesses, and I did. I wanted to really legitimize myself. I had been in the streets. After you've been in the streets for so long, you've seen so much. I've really seen a lot. You know, that I don't talk about. I'm like a vault, but it's in here. I've seen a lot. I did a lot, and I just wanted to be done. You know, I got away with a lot, and I didn't end up in prison. I'm looking at my boys. They're getting older, you know, and I just was tired when he started taking out. It was really a relief for me. Now I can be, you know, side princess. I could just let this man take care of me. And I really thought in my head, he really loves me. He's going to take care of me. I don't have to argue. I don't have to fight. I don't have to do anything. This is my best friend. He's going to take over and he's going to do that. And he did. Once he took off, it was like lightning.
Yeah.
You know, it was. He took off. He took that. We went to Cali. And that's when he started meeting, probably around 99, 98, 99, meeting the bigger cartels. And then eventually I ended up in California.
So you think what he did is took what you guys are doing locally there in Detroit and made it international?
Yeah,
Like,
made it massive. Yeah.
What were you doing in California?
He had his own connects. That's when he started meeting the bigger connects. He was really out doing.
Were you going
it.
out there with him?
Yeah, but I
too?
was not doing any deals. He wouldn't let me do anything.
He did. So he stuck to his word on that part.
He
was
stuck
taking
to
you
his
away
word,
from it.
yeah. And he made sure that the money that I thought I was missing, he was giving it to me.
Okay.
Like hundreds of thousands, tens. I would walk around with 50, 100. My purse would be so full of money that it was kind of ridiculous. But he made sure that I didn't have the need to want to do it. So then I got another addiction. Then I got the shopping addiction. I'm living this whole double life. I'm up in the hills. He told me we went to California. He said, I'm going to move you up there. And I'm like, what, where? And it was in Hollywood Hills. And I didn't understand. I'm like, I'm not moving up there. But he actually moved me up there in this house. If I move to California, I'm going to move you up there. We moved to Mulholland Hills.
Did you get bored?
No, I shopped all the time. I lived a double life. I started believing in my head that I'm a normal housewife.
Yeah.
My friends, my neighbors were these rich women. They became my friends. I've been going to fashion shows. I could call Louis Vuitton would just call me and deliver clothes. I was so known on Rodale. That was my lifestyle. Wow. And like I said, I became a double life. Made my kids little liar double lives, because now they're growing up and you had to groom them.
Right. Yeah.
This
Did
is
they know
what
what T was up to? Did they know what you guys had going on, the kids?
Yeah.
They know.
Kids are so smart.
Yeah, they are.
They're the smartest things. And my oldest son, he ended up getting indicted with us. And so while I was trying to legitimize myself, the more money, the wilder it got. It was like I had already been in the game so long. You've seen the game so long. You dealt with so many people so long. You kind of understood it, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think it grew. When you start to grow on a national platform and an international platform, you're dealing with... you start to organize. This whole thing becomes BMF, right? At some point. And you guys start to have those gangster Lucky Luciano type meetings where you're like, all right, how do we organize?
And how do you organize? It became so much. Like I said, I was in therapy all the time. They didn't know. I had to go to therapy. I began drinking a lot.
Okay.
That typical housewife syndrome.
Yeah.
Shopping all the time.
Too much time on your
hands. Was too much time. Nervous still. This is my friend again. It was something about me. Like, I'm a nurturer. I'm one of those people that I stay in relationships. I get these men and I want to protect them. I wanted to protect him also.
Right. Because are you fearful? Like this gravy train.
It was
could end today.
It could end
Not
today.
tomorrow, today. It could happen in an hour. It could that other shoe again can drop like it did with H.
And I'm back on that wheel again.
Yeah.
Like am I gonna get caught up again? Am I gonna do this? I'm back on that. So you start feeling that again, even though you're not doing drugs.
And you're right, because it happened again, right? Like you sensed it whenever H went down. You knew it was coming, and you saw it happen. And
it
you
was
started
something.
To sense it with T.
With T, I started
The BMF
sensing
and all
it.
them?
I started sensing it because when I knew once him and Meech did that separation, that we were going down fast.
He was learning what you had learned.
He was learning,
And he was taking, and I don't think it's uncommon even in legitimate business for
and
someone
it's
to be
okay.
working side by side.
Yeah.
And hey, I see what you have, and I have a vision to make it bigger.
Right,
That's
and
what
it
he
made
did,
it bigger, and it's
and
okay.
you were ready.
Yeah, and he was ready. And I think what happens with men, because like we were talking about women being in the business, they don't want to be known like, oh, she helped me out. I don't want to, they want to be known like, no, not no woman,
Yeah.
Listen, I walked into some shitty situations when I was buying dope as an undercover cop. And some of the most uncomfortable situations when I had to go into an apartment with a woman. Yeah. Because there were some badass people. Yeah. Guys I could control, I could fight. I don't want to be fighting a woman. And I walked in, there was one girl's apartment, and ironically, it was TT was her name. She had dollar bills tattooed on her face. Right. And I walked in, all the dope deals I did, I was like, I don't want to be here. Yeah. This girl is gangster. Yeah. I mean, she is like, you walked in, she had guns on the table, shit all over you as soon as you walked in, yelled at you like we were little kids. And again, it's that influence. Like I was smart. Not realizing that I was smart. I am a smart woman, especially smart in that area.
And he did, like, he would ask me certain things. Oh, this is how this gonna go, and this is how we gonna do it.
Right.
You know, he got big and he was like, I ain't gonna listen to you. And then we start, you know, because now I don't have to listen to you.
Well, that's corporate America, right?
Yeah.
Even in the Fortune 500 companies are the same
Yeah,
way. You
yeah.
teach somebody, and then when they come up to the point, I could do this job.
I can do,
I can do her job.
I can
you
do
know?
it, yeah.
And then you quickly
Yeah,
realize.
but it wasn't my way of mentoring, teaching. I still thought I was protecting
Yeah.
him. What happened with H, we were still on the east side. I grew up on the west side, and in my ignorance, I thought we were richer than the people on the east side.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
just didn't know it, because when I first met H, he immediately took me to this area where it was poverty stricken, and people over there were doing drugs a lot, and where he grew up, you know? And so seeing that, they were, you know, a lot poorer to me, and the people he was dealing with, they didn't just seem like when I go back to the west side, I'm looking at these people. They look in my neighborhood, they look like they was handling more money. I started meeting people that I knew. I was going out to clubs and parties, you know, more. And me, I'm always a room watcher. And for some reason, I always could tell who was dealing drugs. I don't know. Me more watching, you know, the language, the dressing, the things.
yeah.
And so one day I was like, and we still over here. I'm like, there's money over here. There's money on the west side. Let's go get to it. And he was like, I'm not going over there. I'm like, come on, I'm telling you, I met some people that we can really, you know, flip some work over here. And that's when we were flipping the keys. So eventually he came over to the west side and left the east side. It was like, this is where I'm, you know, because we were making more money. I'm from this hood, even though I'm not out there a lot. You know, me and my friends, once you dressing me now, I'm riding my vets. I'm around, you know, I'm whipping corners and at these spots. I know what's happening over here. Let's go over here and make some money. Let's, you know, let's grow.
So you had that brain to say risk versus reward.
Yeah,
Listen, work smart.
This works smart.
Not hard.
I even went T, like, you got to get out of Southwest Detroit.
Yeah.
I groomed him. I got to be careful when I say groom, because I wanted him like
You balanced each other.
Yeah, this is how I
You
look.
wanted more too, right?
I wanted more too. And if you're going to be around me, you're going to have to change the look. You're going to have to look the part. You can't be around here looking like you dressing, you know, the fruity colors and all this kind of stuff. Like when I say fruity colors, back then he wanted to wear the pink gaiters, the pink pants. No, we're not looking Detroit pimp.
You stand out too much.
You stand out too much. And when I was under Hero was very groomed.
Right.
Very groomed back then. You know, he's always fly and
Well dressed.
well dressed.
Shining.
That was what attracted me to him. And to this day, I look, I'm like, oh, my baby daddy look kind of good. You know, he came home after doing 17 years, and he's not in the streets anymore. But he took his life and legitimized it. But he still groomed very well. So I had to really groom Terry, because I'm wearing these things. You around me, you have to look the part. You have to attract people to you. Cut your hair, do this, do that. And he did that. You know, he started doing that. He started looking the part, respecting him more now, because when they see you looking good, that's when people want to, you know.
That's a tremendous value.
Yeah.
It's a big difference what you're describing. You know, for us moving weight, it was when we picked up weight, if a broke down showed up, and this dude showed up and white
You
Reebok
can't-
sneakers, and it was stained and nasty. Look, I knew this dude's either gonna rip me, or he's gonna do something where I don't want to do business with him.
He's nobody to talk to.
He's nobody to talk
You
to.
just take the bag and move on.
So you gotta
Someone sent him.
You gotta outgrow the 50 boy look.
Yes.
You know, and you have to start doing this.
Right.
You know, I remember he bought his first pair, like $1,000 pair of shoes, and they was pink. I said, "Who does that? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Go buy you. Why would you buy pink shoes?
Right.
Your first.
Just get a marker and write on them, arrest me.
Right.
You know?
They were from Southwest Detroit. I didn't even know what Southwest Detroit was.
Right.
So when I first met them, Harold introduced me to him. I thought, like, oh, two little country young kids.
You're talking about
Him and Terry and
Meech
Meech, you know, because they just didn't look the part as how we looked.
In the museum, we have an exhibit that details the organized crime in Detroit and the mafia during the 20s and 30s, and the beef between the east side and west side, and the strain that it put on La Cosa Nostra, as well as the Black Mafia family. Did you experience any of that?
Yeah, that was nothing that H wanted to do, because, like, no, them people over there don't like the the east side. I'm coming in their territory.
Yeah.
And that wasn't unheard of because they were rivals.
Right.
You don't step on their territory and we don't step on their territory.
Yeah, so all cultures,
have that same, that
the
same
Hatfields
thing.
and McCoys,
Yeah.
right? That kind of
still,
thing.
Still going on. Still probably going on today,
So you talked about basically why these two got busted. You think it had something to do with when they split?
I knew it was when they split because now, T kept Meech kind of calm, and Meech was kind of, because T was always kind of calm. He was kind of, soft spoken, and Meech was like, I want to be out there, and I'm like, cool, what? We selling drugs, dude. Yeah. Like, we doing billboards and we announcing we selling drugs and we in a club. Who does that? So you'll never see. That's why you never see a real picture of T doing that, because no, we're not doing this. I got a family over here.
He kind of went with the example you and Harold had where don't be
and you don't
noticed
say
so much.
The billboards. They legitimately had billboards.
No, it wasn't they.
Okay.
Big Meech had the billboards.
I mean, you put billboards up, advertising.
I really think that he thought that he was legitimizing his music business.
Oh, okay.
But you can't legitimize a business and being seen like that, being you 30 deep, y'all calling yourself, you got Black Mafia on your shirt. It's like a walking billboard. Like, hey, I'm over here selling dope. And it
Indict me.
And I knew.
Because from our side of the house,
that's
the
how
cops,
it was.
law enforcement, we're looking at it.
Like, who are
and
these
we're
guys?
sitting there, when we see a organization divided like that, we're like, man, this is going to be awesome.
Is good.
We watch, and we know
because one wants to take the other over.
It's
all
the
the time.
beginning of the end.
They try to steal each other's connections.
Yeah.
There's never enough money. It's power.
It's power for y'all,
Oh, yeah. Oh, without a doubt. For us,
yeah. And I used to tell them all the time, I said, when you sleep, they got 7 people still up. They're in rotation. Your brain cannot handle their brains.
Yeah.
When they go home to their wives, they passing the torch. Y'all working.
You don't stop working.
Yeah.
Y'all don't stop. We got to sleep at some point. And you got a bunch of idiots around you. They not thinking, they can't think on that process like that.
Right.
And I used to tell Terry that all the time. That is not good.
No.
Right. You were doing kilos with Harold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing kilos with Harold.
So with Terry, would he turn it from kilos to 100 kilos?
When I don't know what happened, really, I'm gonna tell you when I gave him that it was a couple push, and if nobody know what that means, it's like you give somebody some drugs, front somebody some drugs without any money. I gave him a couple pushes, and then after that, he just grew from there. He just started flipping that money. He went to California. I remember one time, I'm out of the business, but I go to our Atlanta house to meet him. I flew in, his people picked me up. I go to the house, and the house is massive. I go in. I didn't even realize how big Terry had got. I went in, and I opened the door, and they're working. They loading these trucks and vans. And I opened the door, and I seen so many drugs. I literally was about to pass out. It was like I lost my breath.
Right.
Yeah.
You go from 6 to 10 or 10 or whatever, and you look at this person that you've been around all this times, and he had me so far away, detached from it all. Yeah. And here I come on this visit, and you're in the house with it was like he had to grab me. I was stuck.
Yeah. Like, he'd gotten so big, like you
so
didn't
big.
recognize
I said,
it.
like, who the hell
That's
are
like
you
that,
working for?
Did he have
now?
like security around and stuff?
It
Like
was people loading, unloading. They were just doing so much at a fast pace. I'm used to that, but not so mad. It was like so many keys I had.
You said trucks.
They were loading. No,
it
was like literally like. The garage was like a 5.
And this was in Atlanta?
This was in Atlanta, with like a 4 or 5 car garage. Right. When I mean, it looked like it was so much.
That's Frank Lucas level.
So you had trucks going
out? I'm
That's
thinking
like
I had immediately said, who are you working for now?
Yeah.
Who are you working for? And then it just like, wow.
Did he say who he was working for?
I knew.
Yeah.
You know the cartel.
You're at the Atlanta house now, so
I'm
that's
at the
a
Atlanta
central
house.
hub. Everything there is getting loaded in these trucks and going
from California.
Chicago,
They making it here. They just make it. Yeah,
New York.
It's making it to all its areas now. People coming in, loading up, and moving.
And just as much dope goes out, as much money comes in.
Money
right?
coming in.
What's he doing with the money?
we had it was so much
Stashed
money.
everywhere?
It was just stashed everywhere. You know, I'm not gonna tell that secret because I did have some. You know? Okay. But yeah, it was so much. It was so much where the bags you know.
Yep.
I couldn't lift a bag by myself.
He's an entire organization.
He's an organization. They were doing it. And like I said, it happened so quickly. It was like a blur. Whoosh. Like, you know, like I was nothing to compare to what that was.
And that feeling you described, that like when you open this car and you see these loads.
Open the garage door.
Was it like a kick in the stomach, like, oh shit?
I think I felt like, oh shit.
This is the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Like your
it was
brain,
like I was comfortable.
Yeah.
At a certain level. I still, you know.
This is going to bring attention.
You went from 610 keys to thousands of keys,
thousands.
right?
I'm like, and I guess on my own life and own bubble that he separated me from, I just didn't realize. I knew it was a lot more money. The houses were big, the cars were big, you know, everything were big, the trips were big, you know, everything I did was big, but privately big for me, but you know, but it was big, but you know, because it was like almost like, whatever H bought you bought yourself. That ain't nothing, you know. It was like, you know, and I knew that, but I just didn't know seeing it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you probably heard of drug deals and you were like, damn, we thought we was just gonna come get 20. They got
Oh, we walked
shot.
in.
Yeah. Not what you were expecting. It was kind of like that.
No.
I
And
remember
so
the first time I saw a money counting machine.
Yeah, it scared me. It really. Now that like I said, I for some reason I grew up like fearless. I was never really scared. People always like, well, you scared? No, I don't know. I don't understand why.
Did he have other women in key roles of authority? T in their organization?
Other women? I mean, he had one lady, her name, you know, me and her were very close, you know, until still to this day, we're like sisters. And she did end up getting indicted, but she was in a key role with him.
But you didn't cut and run. You saw all this dope and you realized, man, we're in it.
But
again, it's your
what are you
addiction
gonna
to the
do?
adrenaline.
What I'm gonna do? Leave someone that I love? You know, I'm just now, you know, praying that I knew it was no backing out.
No. Did you step up your game? What you were doing as far as like
when
aluminum?
I seen that?
Yeah, when you saw those loads and realized.
No, I was just like, I want to be almost far away from this as
You
possible.
started to take the
Move
step
up
down.
go shopping.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go separate myself from this.
Scary.
I'll be on Rodeo shopping. You guys knock it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna just separate. You go do you, and I'm gonna go do me.
Yeah.
You know?
We'll do a short intermission, take a little break, and we'll come back. We'll talk about probably moving into the prison time and how that changed your life. And what that experience is like.
Okay.
Welcome back from the break. I've done some pretty significant drug deals in my life. I have felt fear and danger and excitement and all those things. But I have not been in a room where there was trucks, a house with 5-car garages loading thousands of that. I've not been around that. That's a whole different level.
It was a whole different level. Like I told you, that was the first time that, you know, I've been in deals. I've been doing things like a long time. That was the first time that, even though after that I know what they were doing, but that scared me. That was like, oh my God.
We're talking machine guns.
Yeah,
and
we're
cartel
talking
and
people. And it was like everybody was moving fast.
Yeah,
like it was like, and he ran up and he grabbed me and shut the door. And I was still stuck.
Like a movie.
It was.
Yeah.
And we had the biggest argument. And then it was like, because that house was in my name too. You know, that would have came down, that would have been very bad for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I know how much God had his hand on me. Mm-hmm. He was really protecting me. And I'm not in who all believes. You know, I was his best friend. You know, he really loved me. He really loves me, you know. As like I said, with so many close calls, so many things, so many jumping out, pulling up, running down alleys, jumping out cars, jumping out of windows when I was younger. Those crazy things. And I look back at it, me being in situations where I this is not a good deal right here. How am I, you know, all of those things. And when I look back, I'm like, God has always had his hands on me.
Always, right?
Always.
I say that a lot because looking back at my career, and I think he would attest to the same thing. When you're in it, the adrenaline just gets you.
The adrenaline,
And it's just another day. I've been sewn up like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
You know, and I just kept going back to it.
Kept
Every
going
time I got
back.
stabbed, I go back.
Go
you know,
back.
It's just part of the job, part of the adrenaline. But then as you get older, you do look back and reflect. And I say the same thing all the time. Obviously, he has some kind of plan for me.
Some
I
kind
don't know
of
what it is,
plan.
and I'm not going to question it. But I'm sitting here with you. I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And you just look at life differently, I think.
Look at I'm like, I'm scary now.
You,
I don't even like driving fast on the freeway.
No, I don't either. I know. You feel so lucky.
Yeah,
I'm out
like,
alive.
like,
I'm out alive. There's no good cards left.
And my pepper spray, like, oh
Yeah.
God, I gotta go in the house. And before it was like nothing, you know, like
Yeah.
Remember when you said you were that little girl that grew up in a blue collar community and never been around drug dealers and all that, and then you talked about meeting Meech, getting exposed to that, being attracted to that, how attractive it is to see the cars, the jewelry, the money, and now it's turned into this giant, literal domestic cartel, and you felt untouchable at different times in your life. But you said at this point, you felt like this is the beginning of the end. It's about to go down. And ultimately, you did get indicted. Everybody got indicted. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and 2005, we like it was 35 of us, and I was the only one woman on that first indictment. We got
35 of you got indicted the first time?
the first time.
Wow.
That's a
And
big
that
case.
was
That's a big
that was the core of our group. You know, Meech
Everybody
group
important.
and the core of our the Terry side that got indicted. Yeah. And there it was. They came, but you know what? I kind of knew. You know, you feel it. You know it. I'm watching these people. Everything get out of control. You have no more control over anything. I'm talking to, you know, T. You know, we're gonna get indicted. Y'all can't. This is getting too crazy. You gotta get a hold of your brother. You gotta, you know, he's getting nervous. I'm getting nervous. You could see it, but how do you pull away from it? Because they're already there.
Right.
You know, you could see people following you, just hoping, because we have had, you know, people probably lots of times where they start looking into our lives and backed off. You know, I know that. And then, you know, but this time I knew when they come this time, there's no going back. I was just only praying that I didn't hit this indictment.
Right.
You know?
And you did. Did they start seizing assets right away?
Oh, they took everything.
Everything.
They didn't play.
Yeah.
They
Everything.
didn't play. They made sure that I had nothing. I mean,
They had everything. They'd spent years. They had everything, knew everybody, probably had wiretaps on everything.
yeah, they heard. And what the thing is, they couldn't get me on distribution. They did try to charge me with distribution, but they dropped that. What they came back on me was money laundering.
Okay.
Understand, though, money laundering has a minimum mandatory 20
Yeah,
years. You might as well
and
have
I'm
been
sitting
100
there
kilos.
praying, and my lawyer,
Yeah,
he
you
wasn't.
pretty
He was saying, "What do you think?" Well, I'm gonna do the best for it, but you're going to prison. I'm like, oh, you're going straight to prison. And I said, okay, what am I looking at? And then, you know, the money laundering and the lot of money and laundering they had me with, they said it was up to 20 years. And I kept praying. I said, okay, well,
All of a sudden,
I
5
can't-
don't sound so bad.
yeah. And I was like, I can't do no more than 10. You know, I can't do no more than 10. You figure that out.
Right.
And yeah, so I pleaded to 57 months for money laundering, and that's what they got me on. And I told T one time, he asked me to do a certain thing, and I didn't do it the way I wanted to do it, and that's what they got me on. And I told him, I said, this could get me indicted. And then he pushed and pushed and pushed. If it was H, you would have did it. You know, no, it's not what it was H. I understand that this could get me indicted.
Was it something that you did with money then, obviously?
Yeah.
Put it somewhere
Right.
that he asked you to put it instead of doing it the way you
Sign
thought
for
you should?
some he asked me for do. And I had legal businesses, but what happened, they couldn't compensate or, you know,
Account for it.
make them-
account
yeah.
for that purchase that I made.
Right.
And they was like, oh, okay, well, we can't get around this because the guy who said he had made the distribution deal with me, the sale from me, he lied on the stand. So they had to.
He no longer had any credibility.
He didn't
then.
have a credibility. So what happened was my lawyer filed the motion because I didn't even know this guy.
Oh, wow.
But he
Or you
tried
would have
to.
been indicted on the distribution as
Distribution.
well.
He tried to pull me into it, and the way he described the deal and where I was at, it couldn't happen.
Yeah.
So my lawyer filed a motion. The judge said he wasn't credible. They had to throw that out, so they kept the money laundering.
So
Lucky.
between the indictment,
Real lucky.
when the indictment hits and you go to trial, or you pled out, you didn't go
I
to
pled
trial.
out.
You pled out. How did you readjust your life? No more shopping on Rodeo.
No.
Where were you
Took it
living?
all away, right?
They took, yeah.
Where were
I
you
mean, I
hanging?
had my personal stash, and it was just like no flash. I
Yeah,
mean, no,
yeah. Lay low.
none of that stuff was going on. But by that time, they had went and seized all the records from all the stores, American Express, all that stuff. They
So, yeah.
had me. Yeah.
So that's a huge adjustment for you.
It was a
That's
huge.
a culture
it was
shock. Just
imagine somebody
Yeah.
19 years old having money. I didn't even know what a budget meant.
Right.
That's how crazy my life was. I didn't
said you had a purse
understand.
full of money.
Yeah, and then here you go, indictment. And when I went to prison, it got worse and worse.
Yeah.
I came home to like anything else that I had left. Even I had a home that I said if I can come home to nothing, I'll have a home to live in. Friends scammed me out of my home.
Wow.
So
How were you treated in prison? Like, because you talked about feeling powerful. You're definitely known as the First Lady of the BMF. You're coming to prison. People know who you are, probably.
They
right?
didn't know who I was,
didn't know
and
who you
I
were.
didn't
'Cause you're
discuss
hidden in the
it. I
shadows
was
for
like
so
I said,
long.
I've always was like a vote. This is the first, in the last few years. This is the most I've ever talked about my life, and even in prison, I never shared until later on. But in prison, everybody for some reason, I went to prison in California, so they're very segregated.
Yeah.
And even though they told me I was in a camp, I went to Victorville, and Victorville camp is surrounded up around a UPS, a USP, and that's a higher prison for that's where they killing,
Yeah.
stabbing, and I thought I was going into a camp, and it was just a whole. Shelter shock. I was shocked, and
You went
I
to real
had
prison then. You
Yeah, I
weren't in
went to
camp.
real prison. It didn't feel like camp. And what happened is, this is the craziest story. I partied for 2 days straight. I was drinking. I was popping. I'm like, I'm not going in prison. They gave me who gives people a going. They gave me my friends gave me a going away party that would lasted 2 days. It was just, and when I got to prison, when I turned myself in, my sons drove me up there. I go in. And not knowing I'm crazy. And I'm thinking they gonna sit in the lobby and wait. And they come, no, she's going, y'all gotta leave off the premises.
Yep.
This is it. So I kiss and hug them. I'm high as a kite. I'm like literally, I'm blowed out of my mind. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't pop the pill. I'm out of my mind. I wasn't going in there, they got me, I'm going in here like this. So I go in and they telling me all this stuff and I'm barely up. I'm like, and it was like, are you suicidal? I'm like, no, I'm just high. Can I go lay down?
Yeah.
I literally go through all the stripping, everything. For some reason, I get into, they put you in the where they put everybody before they
It's a
assign
classification center.
classification and before they assign. I woke up and it was, I got there really early, like 9 in the morning. I don't know. I had a blackout.
Yeah.
I wake up, they tell me, you gotta get up, This Mexican girl, you gotta get up, it's count time. I wake up, I'm like, where the
hell am I?
Where the hell am I?
yeah.
A total
Reality.
blackout. And all I could say, she said, you gotta get up, you gotta stand up. Now, this is November, I think November 8th, my turn-in day. Fall, so it gets dark really early. I'm in this classification cell, I'm looking around all these women. Something I was never used to. I've been in county jails and stuff like that. That didn't scare me. This still didn't scare me. It was just like, it was mind blowing, And so I'm like, I'm so high. I'm still high. I got to get out of here. I feel like I'm suffocating. They were like, you can't leave until after this bell ring. I said, when the bell ring, where can I go? She said, you can go out that door. But it was a sandstorm. I ran out the door. As soon as the bell rang, everybody started shuffling around. I was the first out the door. Didn't know where I was going. I maybe thought I could run out. I don't know where. And it was dark, all these spotlights. It's the middle of a sandstorm. I see this bench. I go and sit on this bench and I said, where the hell am I? Damn. You really did it. I used to, let me back up on something because it's kind of important to me when I say, like, when you talk about The Sopranos and going to therapy, I was always going to therapy when nobody knew because I used to have this dream that I was going to fall in this hole. I would fall in the manhole and then I would wake up.
Okay.
So me and my therapist talked about this dream all the time and she was saying, because that's where your life is going. You're going in a hole. I could feel my
Really?
life going into a hole.
Yeah.
So in that sandstorm in Victorville prison, I sat on the bench and I said, damn, God, I'm in this hole.
This is it.
This is it. And I kept saying, why here? Why in the middle of the desert? Why didn't I go to that camp that they were showing me on the pictures in my head? Like, why here, God? Why here? And that's when I understood it. But middle California, segregated prison, nobody knew. I guess I carried myself. They thought I really was like a white collar crime person. I could sit at any table right away. They were always very kind to me. Only people that wasn't kind to me were some of the staff. I had a hard time with the staff. I would get stripped all the time.
Oh, okay.
And I was told if you're going to be here whenever, you can make your time easier or you can make your time harder. So I had to go through that. And it was just so degrading to me, stripping everything from me, and that's when I had to say, how did I get here?
Yeah.
This is not your life. How did you get here? And that's when I started walking through my path of finding out who I was. I met a psychiatrist in prison that I never shared my life. And he said, you're holding so much in. You need to release that. You need to release it. And I wouldn't. He told me, he said, one day, you're not going to talk to me about it. You're not going to share with anybody else. He said, one day, go on that track and just cry and scream. He said, you're feeling, he said, just let it go.
Yeah.
You're carrying too much. You don't have to hold that in no more. And there's so many secrets, so much stuff, that I had. And one day out of the blue, I went on that track and I broke down. And after that, I just been, it felt like a relief.
A
it
true
felt
rebuild,
like,
right?
It was a true, and then I had to face all the realities of the blaming. I really started blaming when I first went in prison. I started blaming T and them because I told you. But then I had to think back, girl, you've been doing drugs, selling drugs since you was 19 years old.
You got to own it.
I got to own it. You got to carry that cross. You got to do this.
Yeah.
And that's when I did. They assigned me to the chapel. It was about 800 women in prison, one person to the chapel. First, I was in my classification counselor. He told me I was going to work in a warehouse. I got up as I was opening the door. He said, Welch, no, you're going to work in a chapel.
Really?
And that was God.
That's
calling.
a good thing for you.
That was God.
Yeah.
That was God.
Yeah.
Because if I went to the warehouse, what would I became? Still bitter, still that person, still probably came out and wanted to do the same thing because I didn't know anything different.
Yeah.
But what happened, me going to that chapel, being the only woman person, out of all the jobs in the prison, I was assigned to the chapel. And even though all those times I escaped everything that I was doing, I didn't know. I knew God, but I didn't know God. You know what I mean? I didn't have him in my soul. I had to find out. He's been carrying me a long time. And this is the time. I'm looking at all these Bibles, all this, all this stuff. And I'm like, I didn't know, I had a dream and I didn't know it was, about Job.
Yeah.
I just had this dream and I told the church chaplain, I said, I had this dream and I don't know what it is. And she said, that's the Job story. Remember, Job was stripped of everything. And that's how I felt like I was
And you're in the middle of the desert.
And I'm in the middle of why was I in the middle of the desert? Out of all the prisons, how did I end up in the middle of the desert?
Do you think when you went in the chapel, did you feel like you weren't in prison anymore while you were in there?
It took me a minute, but as I start understanding, I start reflecting on my life. See, like I said, I went in bitter for a minute.
Yeah.
My son is gone. My son is in prison. I don't have my other two sons. I had three young sons. I mean, three sons.
Oh yeah, your son got indicted with you.
He got indicted
Yeah,
How many
he was in the second indictment, and they
They
said
got him
that
on a second round.
the second round, and he ended up pleading to 11 years. He went in first, and Terry tried to talk me into going to trial. My son said, "Don't you go to trial. You take a plea."
Yeah.
Right.
He said, "This is what you're gonna do." Went back, told my lawyer, just do the best you can. And I took that plea.
And how about your mom and dad, like your mom and stepdad and all that? Did you still have connections with them?
Oh my God, my parents, and I think back, I'll be like, poor mom, poor dad, especially my mom, because I understood what I was doing to her heart now. Because when you have your kids older and being a mother, I had to be, as this young girl, her precious daughter.
Sure.
She always said, my Toni, my Toni, that's my Toni. And I had to be, crushing her heart. One day she was looking at me. She has these three sons, totally different from me. And she said, where did you come from? and I'm stuck. I'm like, I thought I came from you. You know, you're my parents. But she wanted to know what would happen to you, you know? And then I think about that all the time. What did, when I was in prison, what did happen to me? How did I get in this place? Let me reflect on my whole life. And now I'm stripped of everything. I don't have my kids. You don't have friends no more.
Right.
Because you don't have money no more. Everybody's gone. It was
gone.
like the lights went up. My house
Nobody
caught
comes to
on
visit.
fire.
Yep.
Yeah, Toni who?
Toni who? I asked my mom, well, how much could cards cost out there? Because everybody was gone. Like the boat had left.
Wow.
Everybody, you know. So it was a reality that I had to sit with myself. My son's in prison. I got 2 young sons at home trying to, you know, make it on their own in California, and I'm in prison. And I had to understand, like, figure it out. Who are you?
And in prison, you did the chapel for a while. Did you start helping others along the way?
That's what happened was I still wasn't sharing.
Yeah.
And what happened, they made me camp leader. I'm like, I don't want to be no camp leader. I don't
that
even
goat
like
again?
I mean, I like these people, but I don't want to talk to these people
Right.
like that. You know, I don't. And so he said, well, if you don't be camp leader, I'm not going to put you in the drug program. I'm like, you're going to do that to me? Because the drug program is
fast.
an
Get out,
accelerated program, which you can get 18 months off your sentence. Okay, well, I had to do it. I had no choice. I wanted to go home. And what it did was, I'm thinking I'm mentoring them, giving them therapy, but it was a switcheroo. Because now I'm talking about my life. I'm writing about my life. You know, I'm sharing. I'm like, dang, I told that. And then it was, and as time, and it was so much therapy for me. It was just a relief. It was like I said, it was like I was carrying so much. I never cried, and it was weird. Even fighting Hero and going through all of them things, I didn't cry, and I started crying more in prison. Like it was like anything will make me cry now.
Yeah.
Was a lot of the women? Did you guys have similar stories?
In federal prison, you think I wasn't in prison with people who had a similar. My life had leveled up so much, and that's what made me like I got to do something for these women because I was part of the problem.
Right.
You know, I'm living this life. My roommate telling me her life, and she had 15 years, and here I got 57 months, 5 years. What is that? 5 years something. And I'm like, and she said she never left her neighborhood. I've been in, like never.
You had jets and houses.
Houses,
And
like I'm like really never. I'm on the bottom bunk and we were talking tonight, and I'm like, literally never. And I teared up. Like she said, no, I never. And I said, 15 years, 15 years. And then she was losing her kids. She never really had a lot of money, and so that was my thing that said I got to do something. Like I am the problem. I was a problem. I was a problem.
Yeah, you started to see yourself, right? You start reflecting on your
the drug
actions.
dealer, drug dealers.
Yeah, I was a problem.
And that
you
was
know,
a motivator for you? That's when you decided?
that was the motivator, being in the chapel, finding God, realizing my real strength.
Good for you.
Yeah, my real strengths. You know, even though you think you're strong and you're doing all that stuff, I really wasn't strong. I was just masking.
Did these other women look
Whatever.
up to you?
Yeah, I had no problems in prison. Only way they found out about me, Meech wrote that book, Rise and Fall. And my name was through the book. And somebody had ordered the book in prison. And that's how they said, oh, they all started coming. It did change, but they still respected me. Like I said, in California prison, very segregated.
Yeah.
But from Mexicans to blacks to whites to Chinese, I had no problems. Everybody, and that was why they were saying, oh, you're going to be this leader. But it was still a switcheroo. That's how I became to share.
That's what healed you up too.
That healed me.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was broken. I was so broken in pieces. Like I said, you be out there and you think you're strong. You think you're this tough person, but I wasn't that strong. I was just holding on to something. Somewhere, this little girl somewhere online was broken and had a lot of insecurities.
Yeah.
And in prison, I figured out, okay.
Well, your description is, I could see where you truly made that pivotal turn, you know, because him writing that book, and you could have used that. The old Toni, the street
old
Toni could have went, yeah, that's me. And now I'm going to build my little crew in here, and I'm going to build my little empire. I got my respect back. I might have had, I don't have all the flash, but
Right.
you could have used that in a split second.
Yeah.
Because your street brain that side
Right.
of your brain could have been like, you know what,
To
I'm
try
gonna
to
use this.
take
But you
over, to
didn't.
try. I didn't.
And
I,
that truly shows that was a pivotal point
It
in your
was.
life.
It was a
Yeah.
pivotal
Yeah, you did. You
point.
made a turn.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Pretty impressive.
since then, that was my journey. And I'm thinking, I got a son in prison. And to this day, then when they be like the First Lady of BMF, that's okay. I have to live with that. I don't have any regrets on my life anymore. I just have to. Now I just want people to know who I became, who I am now, what I'm doing now. I have 5 granddaughters, and when they look back, or these girls I'm mentoring, when they look back and open a book or Google me, I want them to see something more than that person,
Yeah. It's hard to share looking back. It's hard to share your darkness. It's
Yeah.
hard to share the monsters, but I think sharing the monsters, and we talk about it often, that look, you're never going to get rid of them. They're always inside of us. They're always going to be there fighting to come out.
Yeah.
But I think you turning it, now you're using it for a better purpose.
Yeah.
And say,
It
acknowledging,
took a while, but
was.
you had to fight them things. It didn't happen overnight. They were still coming back and forth. You fight them, but at this point in my life right now, that's where I'm at. I end up, getting my doctorate in humanitarian, and I do some great things out here for people. And I'm proud of me now.
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself. I don't have to. Like I said, I don't live in the regret of it. It is what it is. And I really do think that God, he let me take those hits because he knew I was tough enough to take them. And in that whooping that I got when I was in prison, it was to help somebody else. I really, not physically whooped, but mentally and emotionally, I was beat down. I was literally beat down. And I'm so glad. It sounds strange, and I will hear people saying, prison saved my life because I didn't know anything else. It was either I was going to go back into it, and it would have made my life worse. I could have been getting 20 to 30 years, and it's not my life.
Yeah.
It saved my life.
Right.
Well,
I
you
could
actually
do the
said
time, or I could do something with my time.
You
Yeah.
wouldn't have
Big
gotten
difference.
out of it had you not gone to prison.
I
It
wouldn't
would
have got
just
of it
continued to
because
snowball.
what was I going to do? I was probably going to end up getting with another drug dealer, or I was going to
It's all you knew.
find another connect on. That's all I knew. And it was so easy because they look for people like me or the Terrys or something like that. They don't, they're not
Oh, they
careful.
would've been-
They don't care, But
But you're in
Well, you could have been
reintegration.
in there. You could have been in there networking,
Networking,
figuring out like, hey,
Yeah.
what's the new way to launder
What's
money?
the
What are
new
you
way?
guys into, and who do you
And
know?
I
You could
came
have set up
home,
connections.
baby. I
You're
came
out.
home
Well, that's
broke.
what I want to
but-
ask. What was the reintegration?
Oh
bro?
my God!
Came
I
home
came
broke.
home. I can't even describe it. I worked at the mall, and it was like, I don't care. I'm gonna do anything and everything not to go back to prison. It meant, like I wasn't going back there because I really figured out that I'm smarter than this. But I had to get a job for probation. Trying to get a job was really hard for me. Very hard.
Yeah.
Either, they Googled me or my background.
Yeah.
They didn't, I wasn't offered a lot of things, like housing was tough for me.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, all of that. But I had a strong mom that said, you're going to get through it. She always say, you're going to get through it.
Were you ever tempted to call one?
Yeah,
back on. That's what I mean. Yeah, that's real,
you broke, but I had promised my journey. My journey, and like I said, it was tough. I'm like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. No matter how many people came, I can't do that.
And they came, right?
Yeah,
I
they
would
did.
imagine they
People
lined
couldn't
up.
wait for you to come out to see what you got going on. And I'm
Right.
thinking, y'all didn't look out for me. Y'all didn't do anything. But
And how did that go? Was that an uncomfortable conversation?
it was because I came home with I didn't trust anymore anyway.
Yeah.
My trust, and I was betrayed so much that I just, I didn't want to be around people like that a lot. I just wanted to go on my journey to help and not deal with anybody that was kind of like in that life. I'm not a hypocrite. I still know people that are in that life, and I don't look at them in any kind of way. We still have major respect, and a lot of people still respect me, but that's not my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think inside the life though, you don't build genuine relationships. There's no depth to them. You know what I
It
mean?
was
It's
nothing.
what can you do for me?
And that's
What can you
all
do
it
for
was.
me?
And I didn't understand that. I thought, oh my God, this is my friend. She's my friend. And all alone, she's my enemy.
Did they look at you as a turncoat? Oh, now you think you're better than us? That kind of attitude?
What, when I
you came
came
out?
home?
Yeah.
I
When you said
didn't
it.
even, and what was so cool about me coming home, I have my same 4th grade friends from a long time ago. They accepted me back like it was nothing.
And they never went down the dope game. They never got into the
Never,
drugs or anything?
never, nope. And they accepted me back. It was like they couldn't wait for me to come back. Terry came home in 20. And we, got to get back together. I thought, okay, I just lost my mom. Yeah. I was very vulnerable. I thought this history, he's probably a changed man. All through his sentence, I never talked to any of those people. Not him, never wrote him, never let him call me or anything. But at that moment, I thought, maybe I'm single. Maybe this is the reconnection I've been waiting on. I got with him very briefly, a few months. And I was like, this is not me.
You were different, right?
I was so different. And to me, he wasn't, not taking anything away from him. I was just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a different vision
Everything,
of life, a different perspective.
yeah. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, And so after that, it was really, this is just not my life. I don't even meet, I know those kind of people, but they're not my circle of people anymore. I've been in rooms, baby. I've been in rooms. I worked on campaigns. Right. I have met some of the richest people not in the game. Yeah. Like I said, I'm very blessed and grateful that I have that type, I've grown, I have the type of personality, and people gravitate to me. I like them. I'm kind. And I met some really good people that in this journey in my life right now, they help me. They want to see me succeed. I don't work with the mayors, you name it. These people embrace me so much. So I'm blessed in that kind of way. So I can't look back. I can't go back. No. I would disappoint me, my family, and the people who depend on me and trusted me.
Yeah, and you learned a lot about advocating for others in the game, but inside the life and then outside being home.
Advocating, you don't know you're doing it, but people always like, and I'm like, what? Right. You did what? They didn't give you what? Okay, we're gonna handle that. We're gonna go get it. We're gonna handle that. Don't even worry about that. Yeah. Very, very kind, but very shrewd. Very, I don't know if that's a good or bad word, but very, straight to the point.
And I think we're in the same boat. Even though we were in law enforcement on the other side of it, it was hard for us to reintegrate out of the job and out of the career because it really defined who we were. Like your life defined who you were. And for us, it was just as hard to reintegrate back into, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah, because you kind of forget who you are. You got to
lose identity a little bit.
And the game and the adrenaline. Yeah. How do I feed my addiction?
Yeah.
How do I find that? And for us, it is. It's doing what we're doing here and sharing these stories.
And sharing stories and working hard.
It truly is advocacy for others, being that voice.
Peace is valuable, though.
Isn't it?
Like peace when you can lay your head down.
I can pick up my phone. I don't have to worry about this word. Did you? I don't even think about it anymore. I don't even worry about it anymore.
I bet you wouldn't trade a bag full of money for your peace now, would you?
Yeah.
That peace.
It's that peace. Yeah. I probably, and I say I don't like to say that, never see that type of money again, but it's okay. I'm okay with, budgeting and paying my bills and taxes. Yeah. That thing. Yeah. But, I'm at peace with it. I feel comfortable, and I don't have to hide. And I just say what it is.
There's something about genuine relationships because remember you were attracted to the jewelries and the cars and the music and the people and the houses and everything. But they had no depth to them. They had
no depth, their souls were empty. I look at some of the people now that, when you see them on social media in the streets, you're like, going down fast. You think that, and now it's one of those people that I had to dress to make me feel, I wouldn't leave the house unless I was dressed. It's not that I have to have on the things to make me know who I am. You
can walk in your own skin.
Yeah.
When you walk in a room, you have that confidence about you. You have that independence about you and the look you have. You can still have that.
Yeah, right? You still can have that, and you know. And I look at people
who
like,
you are, right?
It's in you.
Yeah,
it's really in you. You can't buy it. You can't do anything. Because if you lose the money, it was a mask, and you're not who you are. Then that fades away. But so it was always in me. I just didn't know that confidence. I didn't.
Yeah.
I think it's you've stayed consistent in this whole interview today, and I think who you were when you started as a young girl in that small town, and even though you got into the dope game and everything, you've always been you. You've always had a very independent, strong mind, and you've had a leadership role. Like you're kind of a big part of these people having this success, and I'm sure moving forward, you're going to continue the success because you still have that in you.
Yeah.
You walk pretty proud. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And what is next? What's your next chapter?
I'm a server now. I'm here to serve, and that gives me the drive. That makes me get up every morning, just doing something. Produce a couple of movies. Me and my son started our own production company, so we have a few movies that we distributed under our belt.
Your book's available. Maybe tell them the title, tell them how they can get it, where it's from. Probably some of the stuff we talked about in interviews in there, and probably a lot more.
Black Mafia Queen, like my youngest son, who so smart. We call him Mr. Google. Like I went through, I literally went through 3 writers with my agent. He put out the proposals. Didn't get not one.
Nobody wanted to write it.
Nobody.
Really?
So I said, my son, he's always been a writer. He was like, well, I wrote something. Well, what are you going to tell me? And who knows me better than him?
I was gonna say, right.
And immediately the agent, I talked to him. I said, look, I want my son to write it. And he said, okay, let me look at the proposal. And he looked at it and he said, okay, I'm going to send it out. My son we got 5 offers.
Wow.
Nice.
Holy cow, that's really good.
He's in there, right?
He's in the book. He has chapters in the book. It's mother and son talking about their lives. So he, from his eyes and from my eyes, from him telling the story. So the book is about this mother and son growing up in this life and what he's seen growing up. And that's another vision of mine. I want us to be able to go and share his story. Look, growing up with 2 parents, 2 fathers that end up in prison, your biological and your stepdad, and your mom all being in a prison at the same time. And that kids need to know that, because what people don't know, kids who have parents, and it's a secret. They keep it a secret. They share shelter. But I want people to know it happens. It's like 70% of men and women that are in prison right now. So that's a lot of people in prison that left kids at home.
Yeah.
There's a tidal wave. People, I don't think they understand when someone gets indicted and taken away and thrown into prison. There's no backup plan.
There's no backup plan.
Like when you lost the watches, the money, the cars, the house, showed your son, right? And he had to go live somewhere else while you're in prison. Like, he went through his own journey. And
they
it's
went through
interesting,
their
he wrote
own
your
journey. You know, I just lost my son, my middle son, 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to mental health issues. So
Yeah,
that was a tough blow. And I had to recover from that, you know. So him and my mom are my angels up there. Wow. And that's why it's important for me and my younger son to share that, because that he went into a depression for all of that. So that's our plan.
And again,
you've been through a lot.
Yeah.
You watch your son go to prison, you lose a son, you're out. The fact that you even have any confidence or spark in you is
felt
pretty
like
amazing.
I was always down and pulling pick myself back up. But now I feel okay, because people, I think, even though it's really, when I share it, it's a cautionary tale, because I don't want the people to think that life is glamorous.
Right.
Even
Absolutely
though
not.
when they see it and they still talking about BMF 20, 30 years later, they still get confused as that life is being glamorous, and it's not. You can get, I was blessed, that I could have served a lot more time. Something else could have happened to me, but it wasn't. So I just want to be on that. That's my journey now, to share my story. And a lot of people, a lot of women coming home from prison, they don't have the hope that I have. And I want to be like, you don't have to look like prison. You don't have to look like you're beat down. You can make it, because a lot of you do feel like life is over. Right. And you do feel that way, but you can make it. I want to take me as an example. No, it wasn't easy, but I kept going. Right. You're going to have a lot of falls. You're going to have a lot of them.
Yeah, there's ups and downs. Life, that's the way it is.
And life is not going to stop life, and it might be tough, and then you get through those tough times. It's not going to always stay down. It's going, it's going to always. I still have my moments.
You write your own story. Don't let anybody tell you nothing different. Yeah. Don't let anybody put you down. I think that's a great message that you carry, especially for women. Yeah. Women that are in relationships that are being abused, or they don't have anything and they feel undervalued and they feel like I'm nothing. You know,
Yeah, and I
Inspire
share
them.
this. No, you're beautiful. You're amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and I really help a few people get out of the situation and they're flourishing.
Yeah.
Like you can do it. Don't be afraid to do it. Don't
Yeah.
be to take those steps.
It's hard
And,
when you're in it. When you're
yeah,
struggling
yeah.
and you're in the darkest moments, good, bad, and ugly. It's hard.
It's
you know?
hard,
And
yeah.
again, the way we left the job, we left it very abruptly, you know, and we left everything behind. But you just have to fight through it.
Fight.
Peace.
Yeah.
You know,
It's the same.
And
It's the same
yeah,
but different.
same.
You know,
I
it's
say
peace
it
for
all
us
the
too.
time. It's my mantra. Man plans, God laughs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, truly, and you have to go through it to understand.
You
it.
have to
And
go
when-
through it. Like
Yeah.
I said, that fire, you have to go through it. But once you get through it and you understand it, you're at peace with it. And you can live amazing. It's okay. You can, you know, I always do this.
As your advocacy continues, the more you do that, I think the better it is. Like, you know, we didn't talk about Meech. We didn't talk about BMF too much. This is your story.
This
and
is
what
my
you went
story
through.
because, you know, God wanted me from under that. And once you leave that, and I have my own story. I have my own life. I had a life, a layers of life before I even met them. You know, so this is my journey. This is my story.
Dutch and I both wish you tremendous success and just,
Yeah.
Thank
keep on
you.
driving.
For behind-the-scenes photos, merchandise, and exclusive content, visit InsideTheLife.org. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts.